When I first started my NFL podcast, Beyond the Blitz, I had to teach myself a lot of the skills that were necessary for me to make a professional looking and sounding podcast. And when I first started the podcast, it did not turn out well. I recorded it without any editing and any recording experience whatsoever, and it ended up being 3 hours long. So after that, I decided to go into the studio, continue to record Beyond the Blitz episodes, and teach myself how to edit audio through looking at YouTube and looking for tutorials, and also asking professors and fellow students if they had any tips or tricks for me on how to edit audio on Audacity. So I learned a couple of things such as fading in, fading out, and what some of the volumes should be for the audio in the podcast. And another thing that I learned that I taught myself how to do was create outlines for the podcast. I went on NFL.com, ESPN, researched some of the topics that I was talking about and prepared topics for myself, and I was able to get my thoughts out clearly. They wouldn't be jumbled, so that the people that were listening to my podcast would understand what I was talking about, and also just having reoccurring segments for the audience would allow them to know the brand Beyond the Blitz. So from the beginning of me starting my podcast, before I gained all these skills, it going from 3 hours long to about 30 to 40 minutes per podcast, and then the audio quality just got better too, with now the podcast being on platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts.